ever since Veronica Mars made it to Netflix. We've been watching it. We actually finished season 4 yesterday. That is not what this video is about. I will have many things to say about the downer that is season 4 in next week's video. In this video, I'm going to talk about how Play It Again Dick, which was a web series made in 2014, a little bit after the film, is the antidote to the horrible pain that we got from the finale of season 4, even though this one came way before it. What I'm going to argue is that the joy of Play It Again Dick is getting to hang out with the cast of Veronica Mars. These people that have known each other now for a decade, and getting to see them be playful and goofy and everything that you imagine a cast would be. And that part of the fabulous little web series gives us some hope, not only during the times of working through the ending of season 4, but also as we think about AI and all of these threats of AI just taking over writing and acting and everything that we love about films. Play It Again Dick is an excellent reminder that when we fall in love with a show, we're not just in love with the stories and the dialogue and the sets. We're in love with the people who play those characters. They exist in the real world and they have lives that fascinate us, that sometimes seep into the show that we're watching, and by God, AI cannot replace that. Play It Again Dick is a spoof of the detective genre. Basically, it's a spoof sort of Veronica Mars, and it was the idea of the WB digital division. They're the ones who pitched it first to Ryan Hansen, who is of course our beloved Dick Casablanca, and then eventually to Rob Thomas, the creator of Veronica Mars. And the idea of it was that Ryan Hansen decided to capitalize on all the love that the movie got and pitched a web series to the CW in which he would be the amazing private eye and everybody else would be a side character. There's also a component that was a behind the scenes component, and that, I would argue, is where most of the joy comes from. Though actually no, the thing that he ends up making is absolutely vintage Dick Casablancas, which means delightful, goofy, foolish, and you can't stop watching. Rob Thomas was working on iZombie when he was pitched this series, so he wrote and executive produced, but he didn't have time to also direct it. So he took it on with the idea that Viet Nguyen, who was somebody he had collaborated with in the past, would do all the directing of the episodes. And the series opens with Ryan Hansen going to pitch the series to the CW execs, and he has a little teaser trailer that's like preposterous and spoofs Baywatch and all sorts of corny detective movies. But it stars Ryan Hansen and Kristen and Jason Dohring. And these are 3 people who grew up together. By now, it's been 10 years that they have been playing these characters, that their careers were defined by these characters. I've always known that Kristen was married to Daggs because he's in Parenthood, and that's a show that I absolutely adore. But I didn't realize that they had been together since 2007. So just as the series ends, the original 3, she meets him. And then Ryan Hansen, Dick Casablancas, the most immature playboy that ever lived, as it turned out, has been married since 2004 to Amy Russell, they have 3 kids, and they used to be Kristen Bell's roommates for a couple of years while the show was filming. And even Jason Dohring has been married since 2004, and he and his wife have 4 kids. So what's interesting to me about this is that while the characters they play are the most commitment-phobic humans who keep on trying, that would be Veronica and Logan, not Dick. Veronica and Logan are always trying to connect to each other, but they can't. It's really hard for them. It's not until their 30s that they finally figure out how to be together, how to be the kind of people who can be in a marriage. And of course, Dick, there's no way in hell that we can imagine him with anybody, right? He is so in love with Dick. And I'm fascinated by the fact that these 3 people that portrayed those characters so exquisitely, meanwhile, have some of the hardest things that you could possibly get in the world, which is a Hollywood marriage that lasts more than 2 decades. Kristen she's not quite at 2 decades, and also she didn't get married until gay marriage was legal in Solidarity. But these are really long and sustained relationships, and you can see them seeping into Play It Again, Dick, as the curtain peels and we get to see what these people who grow up together, who obviously are able to sustain relationships, are willing to do for each other. Mostly what Jason and Kristen are willing to do for Ryan Hansen. And again, in the age of AI threatening to take over our storytelling, understanding that so much of the mystique and the power of storytelling comes from the people who make it together, and the bonds that they create is as useful an antidote as we can possibly have to the possibility that in 20 years most of the stories we'll consume will be just a bunch of algorithms. Who wants that? I don't. So why Dick Casablancas as the center of this web series? I think it's because he has always been a character that brings all the comic relief to the show. And even as the show deals with some really, really dark themes, some of which, by the way, he's dealing with. As a matter of fact, and this is a spoiler alert, do not watch if you haven't seen season 4. At the end of season 4, he has lost his brother, he has lost his father, who gets gruesomely beheaded, and he has lost the person that I would argue was the love of his life, who was Logan. He is completely and utterly alone at the end of season 4, and I have no idea how Dick is going to make it through, because they did not put him in the last episode, so we have no idea what it is that he does. I guess he will always be Dick. I have no idea. I don't know. But in the show, he was in charge of bringing the lightness that we needed in order to be able to process all the murders and the rapes and the betrayals and the horrors that the show explored. With Dick, we knew that the moment he walked into a scene, we were going to laugh, and that laughter would carry us through whatever darkness was coming in the next few scenes. And if you're going to create a foil to Veronica and really drive the tone of the show completely in the funny direction, of course, that's where you would go. He's completely clueless, both Ryan Hansen trying to make this pilot and Dick Casablancas, the intrepid private Dick, as he calls himself. Veronica Mars has always been very sexy, all the way from making out to, wow, major sex scenes that happen the older she gets. And as horny as Dick is, his idea of sex scenes are the least erotic things that ever happened, because he's a boy. One of the ways in which Rob Thomas made Play It Again, Dick, particularly humorous is that he sort of seemed to split the actors between playing close versions of themselves and playing completely opposite versions of themselves and their characters. For versions of themselves, we have Kristen Bell, and she says, oh, I love Ryan like a brother, of course I'll do this, though she's certain that it will never be greenlit when she agrees to do it, and then when it does, she's like, oh god. And you can see her really struggling with all the lines where she's supposed to be really dumb because Dick decided that she was now a real estate agent with a bunch of kids, and she just delivers them, and you can see how much it hurts her to do them until a part where it no longer hurts, and I'll talk about that later. But all the moments in which Veronica's legacy gets outdone by Dick's not very smart smarts really, really pain her. And Rob Thomas also shows up, and he is like, if there was a Veronica Mars spin-off, I think I would know. And that's funny because, as it turned out, it was not his idea to do this show. And as a matter of fact, once he found out about it and agreed to do it, he had planned to just have the cast on the couch sort of riffing and being funny. And it turned out that they gave him a lot more money than he thought they were going to give him, which then made him have to make these choices. So that's a little wink wink moment. And also Ken Marino, Vinnie Van Lowe, oh, we love Vinnie Van Lowe, who is also in Rob Thomas's Party Down alongside Ryan Hansen, this fabulous comedy, which if you guys haven't seen it, it is so good and I recommend it with all my heart. It is also basically a procedural sort of, it's a bunch of unemployed actors who are in a catering company, and for every episode you get a completely different story, case of the week, because they're catering at a different event. Kristen Bell has a kind of delightful multi-episode arch there, which I suggest you check out. Anyway, Ken Marino, as it turned out, is a screenwriter and a producer for Children's Hospital and all these other great shows. So he shows up very much like Vinnie Van Lowe, but less douchey. And he ends up getting roped into writing the script. And Darren Norris, a favorite at our house, is Cliff, the incompetent lawyer with a heart of gold, also appears, and he does some very funny voice acting. It's interesting to see these characters play versions of themselves because you get to first of all learn about these people outside of the show, these amazing lives that they've had, but you also get to see them interact in ways that you imagine they would during the filming. You get to experience that camaraderie that we hear and dream and imagine and hope happens on these sustained film sets that go over many, many years. And even the shows that get canceled, by the way, and have these long hiatuses, they come with their own closeness, the pain of cancellation, that will bond you. Well, Rob Thomas wrote plenty of the Veronica Mars cast as playing versions of themselves for Play It Again Dick. He also, to hilarious effect, had some of the show's most beloved actors play completely opposite versions of themselves, I'm guessing, or certainly of the characters they play. Percy Daggs III, another great favorite at our house, plays Wallace Fennel, and Wallace is Veronica's rock, her good best friend, her conscience. As a matter of fact, spoiler alert, when she has this weird sex dream in season 4 in which she is finally having sex with Leo, Max Greenfield, the way that she realizes she's dreaming is because Wallace is sitting at the edge of the bed watching her like, what? And that is exactly who she would see, because not even her dad, like, he is her conscience. He is such a good man. And the way that Percy Daggs III shows up in the show is that he is completely gangster. Is that even an allowed word to use? The way that it is portrayed, that is what he is. And he basically says, no more, does he say pussy? He says pussy. No more pussy shit for Wallace Fennel. No toy airplanes. No getting tied to poles. And again, Rob Thomas is making fun of himself because he did keep Wallace very much tied down. And in some of the seasons, Wallace didn't have that much to do. Season 4. Another one of our good characters is Keith Marks, played by Enrico Colantoni, and in this version he is this terrifying criminal, tax evader. He's got beef with Tom Hanks. He is so scary and so opposite of what Keith Marks is and what we imagine, guess, Enrico Colantoni is, that it allows Enrico to sort of flex his muscles in another way. And then there's Weevil. Francis Capra. And he, our favorite PCHer, biker gang member, gets to be an artiste, an actor, Shakespearean, who feels like his talents have been wasted, and he's wearing of course, turtleneck, black. It's ridiculous because Ryan does give him some very heartfelt eulogy that he has to deliver for Duncan Kane. We'll talk about that next. And it's just a very against type need for an actor that has at least seemed so comfortable portraying Weevil, the criminal with a heart of almost gold. He is, once again, Rob Thomas, sort of poking fun and criticizing his own oeuvre, because it's true. As much as we love Weevil, he can only do the things that he is stuck doing as a character. He doesn't have a lot of choices being a PCHer. So one of the great things about Play It Again Dick is that in this spoof of all of these genres that Veronica Mars plays with, Rob Thomas is really spoofing himself and the limitations of his work, and who doesn't like that? Not to mention the fact that the actors just really go all out in helping him do it. Well, most of the Veronica Mars cast was game to return for Play It Again Dick. Teddy Dunn, who played Duncan Kane, had left acting to become a lawyer. Much more sensible and secure profession. And he didn't want to come back and play Duncan Kane. So that left Rob Thomas in a bit of a lurch. And he decided to recast Teddy with Ryan Devlin, who played Mercer. And if you guys remember season 3, Mercer is the horrifically monstrous serial rapist who likes to shave women's heads after he rapes them. And it's funny that this is the person that would come and be Duncan, because Duncan, of all of Veronica's loves, was the most pure. Yes, he was wounded, and yes, he was with Meg, but he was so sweet. So to take this one love that she had that represented herself when she was still innocent and cast him with the same guy that played Mercer is just preposterous and kind of brilliant. And as I mentioned, Kristen Bell throughout the whole series is very much like, oh God, great, I get to say these awful lines that Veronica would never say, and they've given Veronica the worst storyline ever. But when she realizes that Duncan is back and that he loves her, they go into the grossest, funniest makeout scene in which they basically lick each other's cheeks. And it's so ridiculous. And that's when you see that the real Kristen loves comedy. She's just having a blast with this whole thing. Even if she can't possibly say those lines, she can certainly let Mercer suck her face. He wasn't sucking, he was licking it. Because this is Ryan Hansen's world, it is the least sexy makeout scene you've ever seen. But it's also one of the funniest, which adds to the charm of the show. Shows let us down all the time. They change often the tone goes really dark. At some point they're having a midlife crisis, they go really dark. I don't know why. It's like buying a red convertible for the showrunners. Sometimes they kill characters we love, sometimes they split up our favorite couples, and it sucks. It's painful. It feels like a betrayal of the characters, of ourselves, of the actors, of everybody. And season 4 did all sorts of buying red convertibles. I bought a few, not just one. And one of the things that I like to do when that happens is to think about the people who made the show. Not because I'm mad at them, because I'm not mad at creators, because I think it's really hard to make art. But I'm like, well, these people who embodied the characters are hopefully going on with their lives in non-tragic ways, unlike the characters in the show that we love so much. And that's what I did after dealing with the season 4 debacle, which was thinking about all these people and their marriages and children and careers and all the ways in which they're still creating. It helps me stay hopeful for at least them, if not the characters. And one of the best ways in which, for me, that gets embodied is the dance scene at the end of Play It Again, Dick. Anytime they were shooting a scene with someone, he would make sure to get a dance in. So we have Ryan Hansen playing with the whole cast of Play It Again, Dick, which is quite a bit of the cast of Veronica Mars. And you just see this chemistry, this connection, this delight in moving and being ridiculous and being funny and hamming it up for the camera, but also the connection of people who had the amazing experience of making a show that is iconic, that people love. At that point, they didn't know the show was gonna break everybody's hearts years later. What a gift for humans to get to work together on something like this and to have it touch the rest of us. So if you're really bummed about the season 4 finale, go watch the dance sequence of Play It Again, Dick, and I promise you'll feel so much better. Who knew that the end of Play It Again, Dick, the web series, would be what we need in order to get over the wounds that the finale of the whole show gave us. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell me, have you seen Play It Again, Dick? Have you not? What are your thoughts on it? What is your favorite character in it? And stay tuned for my season 4 video next week. Ugh, I don't want to make it, but one has to. I hope you like, comment, share, and as always, stay big-hearted.